As president, the protection of the nation is my highest duty. Yesterday, Congress passed a dangerous resolution that, if signed into law, would put countless Americans in danger, very grave danger. The Democrat-sponsored resolution would terminate vital border security operations by revoking the national emergency issued last month. It is definitely a national emergency. Rarely have we had such a national emergency. Therefore, to defend the safety and security of all Americans, I will be signing and issuing a formal veto of this reckless resolution, and that's what it was. Congress's vote to deny the crisis on the southern border is a vote against reality. It's against reality. It is a tremendous national emergency. It is a tremendous crisis. Last month, more than 76,000 illegal migrants arrived at our border. We're on track for 1 million illegal aliens to rush our borders. People hate the word invasion, but that's what it is. It's an invasion of drugs and criminals and people. We have no idea who they are, but we capture them because border security is so good. But they're put in a very bad position, and we're bursting at the seams, literally bursting at the seams.
Hey, NBC News fans, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here, and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interview.
What is up? What is up, everybody? How are you? Let me unmute Sabina, because that's very important. That way we don't have any debacles. How is the sound for everyone? Say hi, Sabina.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Bruce. Hi, family.
Oh, it sounds good here. Looks like I got the desktop audio. Everybody turn your phones up. It might be a little low. Okay, I want to make sure. Yeah, okay, good. All right. Does that sound good to everybody? The lead-in video was President Trump signing the veto bill. For those that don't know, my guest on Panda's Patriots tonight, the returning Patriot, Sabine Durden, otherwise known as Dom's mom. She came on in July, and we did a 3-hour interview because she was getting those 2-minute sound bites, and that's it. And we sat and we talked for 3 hours. So now we get to talk about the whirlwind 8 months. How are you, Sabina? Welcome back.
Thank you for having me back. It's so good. It doesn't even feel like 8 months. Feels like yesterday.
Yes, it's flown. It's flown, but you have been extremely busy.
Yeah, just a little bit. Hey, and you showed the video of the veto signing? Yeah, well, look at here.
Wow, holy cow. Not very many people can say they own a pin signed by the president while signing a bill. But not only that, his first veto in office.
Yes, a very important one.
Very.
So this is kind of like the cherry on top, but the best part was on Thursday evening, the night before, I get a call, and it was a restricted number, and I usually don't pick up, but this time I did. And it said, yeah, this is such and such from the White House, and we would like to know if you can be at the White House tomorrow at 3:30. And I was like, what? Yes. if I start running right now, I can make it. But they arranged travel next morning, 6:40 in the morning. I left Texarkana, got to DC at 1 p.m., ran to the hotel, changed, made it to the White House, and met up with some other angel moms and dads, with sheriffs that I've known for a long time. And then we sat in the Eisenhower room for a little while, and then they told us that we will be going into the Oval Office. And I had just been there 4 weeks prior, and never in my life, Bruce, would I have thought that I'd make it one time to the White House, besides doing a tour, and then being in the Oval Office a few times. And still, every time we walk in, and every time my knees buckle, and it's just so overwhelming. It's such a powerful place. And then to stand at his desk, the desk that has so many stories to tell, the people, the presidents that used to sit there, the guests in the Oval Office. And then in walks the vice president, and he remembers names. Hi, Dom's mom. Got to meet William Barr, the general attorney. Got to see Christian Nielsen again. And then walks in the president, and he gives you the hug and the Dom's mom and the hello, and you feel at ease, comfortable. It's a feeling unlike anything. Just unreal. I'm still pinching myself at times.
Right. At the very end of the video, they kind of panned out, and you were sitting there right to the president's right, and I could see you mouthing the words "thank you."
Yeah.
Tell everybody a little bit of, because that was kind of a culmination, and we're going to go back and we're going to talk about the whirlwind 8 months. But I wanted to 8 months. I wanted to start with, there's been a lot of victories, but that was a very important one, an important one for you, and you were mouthing "thank you."
Yeah.
So tell us why.
Yeah, and I like to tell your listeners that even though it's such an honor and such an incredible event I got to be a part of, I would rather be home and watch it on TV and look over at my son and say, look what they're doing. And so the price I paid for being there is way too high, and I wish that on nobody. But because I can't change what happened almost 7 years ago, I'm proud of myself for how I endured, and with support from you, from Glenn, from Colleen, from perfect strangers on Twitter and Facebook, did I make it through these almost 7 years. And 7 years ago on July 12th, my only child, my son Dominic, who came from Germany with me the legal way. I didn't push him through or under fences. I didn't drag him through deserts. I didn't sell him to any child sex trafficking ring just to come to the States to drain the system. No, we came the legal way. And Dominic was my one and only, my best friend, the love of my life. His dad and I divorced, and Dominic and I spent about 8.5 to 9 years in our home together as housemates. We would ride motorcycles. He was a pilot. He had a little Cessna. We enjoyed life. He embodied how to live life to the fullest. Because in his short 30 years, he accomplished more than some people do in 100 years. He excelled in school. Everything he touched, he just did well. He enjoyed what he was doing, helping people, community. And then he became a 911 dispatcher for the Riverside Sheriff's Department, where he was one of the best and saved a lot of lives, sheriffs, policemen lives, and so forth. And on July 12th, 2012, he was on his way to work at 5:45 in the morning on his motorcycle about 2 miles from the house. Anthony, my fiance, the love of my life, my rock, him and I, we were in Atlanta for a family reunion. We had just arrived that morning. And as Dominic was traveling down the road right away, not going fast, this illegal alien from Guatemala with a previous deportation, 2 felonies, armed robbery, grand theft, 2 DUIs, which he received probation for each time. And he was on probation when he took his unregistered and unlicensed and uninsured truck and turned it in front of Dominic, trying to get into a side street, and hit Dominic pretty much head on, hit him so hard that he killed Dominic instantly and threw him into a wall on the sidewalk. There were 2 Marines in their cars behind Dominic traveling that road, going to work, and they witnessed that horrific scene. And one stayed with Dominic and one ran after the guy because he was trying to run away. And he was never charged with a hit and run because I was told, well, he didn't get away. All right, well, wonderful. They caught him, they held him at the scene, and the first officer that came to the scene couldn't handle it. It was Dominic's best friend that he was riding motorcycles with. And I'm getting emotional because I think of how far-reaching this pain goes. It's not just me and my family. The next police officer arrived. He couldn't deal with it. He recognized the motorcycle. The fire department shows up. They went in shock because he was one of their volunteers that would spend so much time at their fire station helping. They draped him in American flag, and they called the coroner that they will not need him to transport him to the coroner's office. They would have him on the fire truck, escorted by police cars and police motorcycles to the coroner's office to give him the last honor. The guy was tested. He was right under the legal drunk limit, so that would have been his third DUI, which really doesn't matter at all because illegals get a better deal anyway. They have a different set of laws. And we found out when we were in Atlanta, and at 5:45 in the morning, we had just left the Waffle House because it was too early to go to the family's house. And I lost all feelings in my legs. I just dropped right in front of the cars we were walking in. I couldn't understand it, and now I know why. It was the moment my child was killed. So the connection is there, and it still gives me chills thinking about it. So, well, anyway, we came back from Atlanta. I didn't know it was an illegal. I had no idea. I thought it was an accident, and in shock, my only child, my family was completely annihilated. His future taken, my future with my son taken.
Permanently.
All his dreams, all his dreams shattered. And I'm still thinking it was an accident until a police officer, when we went to the site where he was killed, we filled it with flowers and candles. And every night we would just gather there, try to hold on to each other, hundreds of people, his friends, co-workers. And somebody whispered in my ear, said, you need to ask the DA why he doesn't tell you the truth. And I'm like, what you talking about? He said, yeah, the guy who killed Dominic was an illegal. That's the first time I heard about it. So asking the DA, by that time, I'm still in shock. I didn't realize that they were rushing me right through the system, advising me not to go to trial. Let's just have a hearing, and it's in the best interest, and we'll make sure Dominic gets justice. No, the only one got justice was the illegal alien, who during the hearing, first of all, needed a few expensive translators because he couldn't speak English, of course not. He got to bail out while the hearing going on. He's an illegal with felonies, deportation, killed an American. He got to bail out through a federal judge who ordered that for $10,000 cash, but he claimed he's a day laborer, has no money. He came back arrogantly because why wouldn't he? He got away with everything else before, and came back for the hearing, told the judge, God gives life, God takes life. I was only on my way to work. The judge then telling me after the impact statements that had everybody in that courtroom crying and on their knees, that he wished he would have known more about the case, but since he gave his word to the illegal and gave him a deal, he has to honor his word, and he gave him 9 months, 5-year probation, and that SOB spent 35 days in jail. 35 days.
35.
You and I would still be in jail.
Absolutely.
No
Without
difference
question.
ever. Yep. And we just saw it with Jussie Smollett. We see it with these Hollywood elites. There's a different justice system for everybody else but us. And I've learned that so brutally. But by that time, I started waking up out of that fog. And I realized that I'm the only one that my son has to speak out for him. Otherwise, they would push me aside. The media didn't talk about to me anymore after they realized I'm now speaking not against drunk drivers. No, I'm speaking against illegal aliens.
Right.
And I'm learning as I'm going. So they stayed away. And June 2015, July 10th, 2015, I met Donald Trump, the candidate, in Los Angeles. he and a few, was myself and a few other angel parents. We met with him privately. Anthony and I, we were there, and he wanted to hear our stories, and he listened. And that was the beginning of where I am now, because without that, people would hear a little bit here, a little bit there, but nothing like I've been doing. Because when Donald Trump sat in that private meeting with us and said, now nobody's listening to you, no media, no, nobody. He said, okay, come with me. He took us into a room that was stacked with media in the Beverly Wilshire Hotel in Beverly Hills, California, and told them, now you're going to listen to these families. And they did. They had to, because he didn't speak till the end. And I used to be afraid of public speaking. I would have never done this 8 years ago. I was just deathly afraid of it. It was some kind of fear. But that day, when he put me in front of that microphone, in front of the world, I said, okay, I'm starting to feel Dominic behind me whispering. He said, Mom, listen, you got this. You all I got. And I shared his story. And before I left the hotel, CNN called and wanted to speak to me. And from then on, it's still a whirlwind. Almost 7 years later, and I had no clue what was to come. No clue.
Right. Well, you mentioned that right after they realized that you weren't speaking out against drunk drivers, when you were speaking out against illegal aliens, that things changed for you. Tell the folks about your website, domhugs.com, because now it's .org. Explain what happened and how we were able to get that going.
Well, while I was still talking about illegal, about drunk drivers and the accident, now to me it's a murder. That's what it is. It's not an accident. Accident is when we drive and they happen. Accidents do happen with serious consequences. But anyway, friends of Dominic's said, oh, let's do a website. Let's, share what you do, share pictures so people can kind of, watch and remember Dominic. And it started real nice. But then I noticed once I started becoming politically involved and waking up to it and waking other people up to it, I couldn't post on my website anymore. And I was getting so frustrated because along with the grief, along with being out there talking, it's extremely emotionally draining. There are days I'm just sleeping. And
Right.
Anthony picks the slack because I'm done. I'm getting frustrated. And there I meet Bruce and I meet Glenn. And Glenn says, no problem, I got you. And within, I say 2 minutes, because he's Superman on website. He put together, him and Anthony worked it on Skype, and he put together domhugs.org. And he said, it's no problem. We will shut down the other one and buy that domain name once it becomes available, because he felt so horrible about somebody holding Dom Hugs hostage, because I now speak the truth. If you don't like to hear the truth, skip, pass, watch something else, scroll past me, whatever it is. But don't try to silence me, because people try to silence me by calling me racist, Nazi, bitch, whatever you can come up with. And I tell people, the more you come at me, the louder I get. So it don't matter what. So this was a huge win. I got to meet you. You're like family. Glenn and I went to the border together September last year to McAllen, where I got my favorite hat that I just absolutely love, because I support Border Patrol 2,000%. So sometimes out of something bad comes something good. And that was one of the cases. Something good came from this. And I'm so grateful. And now we have domhugs.org, where all I have to do is send Glenn whatever I do, and he puts it up. I don't even have to worry about it. He's like, you guys are the big brothers I never had.
Yeah, I've got domhugs.org right behind us. And So, if you haven't subscribed or gone down there and checked it out, check out domhugs.org. It's absolutely a great site, and it is full. 8 months, and it'd been a while since you had been able to post at that point and really get your thoughts down on paper. So it was amazing as soon as Glenn put it together how much you started adding to it and writing and articles, and it's just it's amazing.
Open up ads and it evolved. And something very important I learned, and kind of Dominic, I know he's cracking up in heaven watching me. I used to think it didn't matter what I said or what I thought, and my voice didn't matter. And I've learned through these almost 7 years that each one of us has more power in us than we ever know. Sometimes we need to pull it out, sometimes we don't. But once we get over that fear of whatever it is, we have power. And by staying classy, by making your point, by telling the truth, and being persistent, and it just works. Because I look back and I've brought change, and I've met people along the way that I would have never met otherwise if I wouldn't have been out there. Oh, and I wanted to tell people that these bracelets, the green Dom Hugs bracelets, they're worn all over the world. I know you wearing it, took it fishing with you. If anybody wants a green Dom Hugs bracelet, please write to me on Dom Hugs, contact me. They're free of charge. I send them to you. Let me know how many you want. It's a great conversation starter when people ask, and you get to share Dominic's story and maybe find somebody else who's had this kind of experience but was afraid to talk and afraid to share. Because through this platform and through you guys, I've met Chris Odette, Justice for Krisha. Nobody listened to him. His daughter was killed, 13 years old in Texas. Run down, and the killer didn't even spend 30 minutes in the police station.
Right.
But nobody talked to him. Nothing.
Right. Still out there.
He sat at the State of the Union.
Right. And that's for the folks that don't know. Sabina told me about other angel parents and put me in contact with Chris Odette and told me this exact same thing, that he's ready to give up. His daughter died 4 years ago, and nobody. And, so I put him on, and I'll be, you're a good friend of mine, so I have no problem being honest, and I've been honest with other folks. That was the hardest interview I've ever gone through. I mean, emotionally, it was wrecking, And
he had just lost his wife to cancer.
Exactly.
All he had is his daughter, and then she gets taken by an illegal who doesn't even know justice, nothing. He's still at large.
Exactly. But it's amazing how because this channel's very small. I mean, I get on a good video 1,000 to 2,000 views. On my best videos, about 3,000. But from there, and also Glenn, and there's gonna be a lot of thanking Glenn out here. Whereas I may direct people to him, Glenn's making these websites for them and putting them under an angel parent umbrella to where they all link. And every angel parent interview I do from here on out, they will get their own website, and it'll be linked through domhugs.org to Justice for Krisha. Now we also have Justice for Mark Batten and .com, and so we'll keep on building it. But for Chris, that was the changing event. When I talked to him about 2 weeks ago, and we talked for almost 2 hours, he was almost giddy because the website made it to where people could see his story. And from there, he got a hold of his congressman. Oh goodness, his name is Burgess. That's right. And he got offered to go to the state of the state in Texas, and then the State of the Union. While he's he went there, and that was when they canceled the State of the Union. So he was kind of bummed out. He was going to miss it. Ended up when they rescheduled the State of the Union, he was able to go back, attend the State of the Union, and all that from a guy that this time 8 months ago when we were talking, nobody had heard
Yeah.
his story, or even, and nobody would listen to his story. So that was
No, it's important, and this kind of support and friendship and supporting each other. This is what keeps us going, because the hardest part for us, Bruce, is that our children will be forgotten, because everybody else, they have their proms and they get married. I'm back, and we don't have that. Because somebody was calling. Never mind.
Buffering.
We don't have that. I have memories, pictures like these pictures of times together. That's it. I don't have no more. The last picture, and it might shock some people. Last picture I have of my son, somebody took this. That was me touching my child in the morgue for the very last time. His bruised, cold, dead hands. The last time I got to touch him. Now I have his ashes in my little locket, and then I have this with me, the little urn. I always take it with me. It goes to the White House. Everywhere I go, he's with me. But that's it. That's what we have. We have no new memories. We have nothing. So our biggest fear is that our children will be forgotten. So for us to get, if 2 people listen, it don't matter. It's so important. And not just that, but to bring awareness that this could happen to any one of us, because illegals out there driving without a license, drunk. I'm not calling everybody drunk, but the majority, yeah. And then your family's out there driving. Your daughter just got her license. Your child just got out there driving. Your mother, your family is in danger, and we need to talk about it, and it has to happen. We can no longer be silent or whisper about it. I've gotten death threats. I've been spit on. I've been pushed. It don't matter. Once you lose your child, nothing can be worse. You could rip my arms out. It still wouldn't.
I never would have thought in a million years, Sabina, that 8 months ago, just 8 months ago when I interviewed you, that the representatives that are supposed to represent our country would all of a sudden start saying things like kids in cages and being separated from their parents, parental separation. And it happened like pretty much right after I interviewed you, where they all of a sudden this conversation started changing, and the narrative started being about, we should feel sorry for these illegals that are putting their children in harm's way and crossing the borders illegally. And so, I mean, as an angel parent, immediately for you, when I seen this, I was like, I've got to ask, Sabina's opinion. When you see that from your reps, from the MSM narrative, I mean, pretty much since that time, you went on a whirlwind. When I go through your videos and your articles and your photos, we're talking dozens and dozens since that period of time. So obviously something got under your craw, or just got you to where all of a sudden it was no laughing matter, and like you said, it was time to fight. So explain to us what it felt like when you see that kind of crap after going through what you've already gone through.
To me, when I first heard about it, I was like, okay, so 2 kids died, which is horrible. Any child dying, that's unnatural.
Absolutely.
Shouldn't happen.
Terrible.
But I'm thinking, okay, so we have representatives, for American representatives, paid by our tax dollars, that run to the border, stepping over our own children that are dying daily on the street. We can go to any big city, any small city. Kids are dying. Kids are hungry, in need, American children. But they running down to the border and talk about it, cry, and put on this show about families being separated, while I'm looking around and say, well, I have no family left. I've been forever separated. And I now know far too many other families that have been forever separated. We can't Skype. I wish I could call my son every 3 months or Skype with him, but I can't. And then they talking about these poor children. And I remember one in particular, she just grind my gears. She was on camera saying, "Oh my God, these children are freezing to death." It was 70 or 70 some degrees in these places that are better than some places our own American kids are in. The centers where they keep the kids, because they have to be separated, because a lot of them aren't even with their parents. They're being sex trafficked. They're being abused and raped and molested on the way over, because the parents either sell them or hand them over with money to bring them here, so they will be the free meal ticket. And to bring that point home, when Border Patrol found a 6-year-old girl, and I get really upset because I want to speak to these senators face to face so they can feel me. A 6-year-old girl was picked up by herself. She had 30 different DNAs in her. 30. So she's been raped by at least 30, if not more, or by the same ones over and over. That child is forever changed and will never be the same. So Border Patrol gets the bad rap. They get called abusers and they separate. It just really ticks me off, because they don't blame the parents or the people bringing them over. They're making easier for these human traffickers to do their thing. The cartels, that while they have children here, they have drugs on the other side. It's such a big money game for them.
Right.
They come up with all kinds of things. They throw kids over the fence. It was a video out where they dropped 2 kids into barbed wire. So 20 or 10 others illegals could 10 feet down the road, skip over the border. And our senators, our representatives, whoever those politicians are, whatever side they're on, I really don't care. They ought to be ashamed that instead of speaking up for Americans, they always pick that other side. And I started to wonder what in the world happened to Schumer and Pelosi, whose office I sat in and couldn't get to her because she was hiding behind her wall. Oh, wait, a wall? Wow, a wall kept her safe from me. What a concept. What a strange concept. I should have thought about it. I'm going to call my president and let him know we need a wall. But anyway, what happened? Because before Schumer, Pelosi, Bill Clinton, Obama, everybody wanted a wall, wanted security. We can't have illegals here. Now, all of a sudden, that's all they want here. What happened? Well, they losing voters because people are waking up that the Democrats are a real bad party that don't care about their people. They also found out, wait a minute, cheap labor, Chamber of Commerce. Oh, there's a lot of money with illegals. They kill our economy because if you have a business, you pay taxes, you do insurance and whatever for your employees. Yeah, you charge $15 a lawn to cut it, right? Well, an illegal can do it for 10, but you will be out of business. So, well, we need cheap labor because these big companies, that's what they hire. And they claim they don't. And I know for a fact, like Walmart says, we don't hire illegals. No, you're right. Walmart doesn't, but they have companies who are staffing companies and they hire illegals. So yes, there are illegals working everywhere under the table, getting paid and not paying taxes. So,
well, that's a fact. As someone who had to recently go back to construction, which is during an economic boom like we are experiencing, especially in Boise. In this area, the Treasure Valley, we've got like a 41% increase in expected home buildings and everything else. So it's a good time to be in it. On the flip side, though, CBH homes, Hubble homes, the lower end of the spectrum is some of the houses that we've done, and it is the smallest wages I've ever seen. If it costs so much for workers' comp insurance, for let's say a crew of 4, it's costing my boss about $500 a week. We'll have the
Wow.
people, yeah, we'll have the people across the street that are paying for 3 or 4, but they're working 12. And they get that house done in a day to 2 days, and it takes us 4 to 5. Therefore, we're not, taking advantage of this economic boom like we should. During the 80s and Reagan, people made businesses that are still going today, and it's,
Yeah.
feeding generations later. So I can personally attest to where that hits, on the economic side of things.
Yeah.
Uh, I'm going to pull up right behind you right now. Your Breitbart has pretty much their own Sabina Durden section. And to look at some of the headlines, Angel families celebrate with president as he signs first veto. Legal immigrant Angel mom in Pelosi's office. Why are illegal aliens placed in front of us? Angel families march on Pelosi's office. Build that wall. Angel mom to Pelosi's MS-13 defense. My son's spark of divinity erased. Angel mom show Nancy Pelosi's office walls kept them out. That's all my show right there, because my point is, I bet Sabina that Nancy Pelosi goes to bed at night and shakes her fist at you. Well done. You have.
Well, I don't know. I don't know if she does all that because I think, first of all, I don't think she has a pulse or a soul or anything like that.
But
She's
they
all
check the
about herself.
papers.
Yeah, and then her nephew, Governor Newsom of California, he's just worse than the previous one, Jerry Brown. That whole family is so corrupt, and it was so weird when we went to the office. And I gotta give a shout out to Amy Kramer from Women for Trump. That lady, I met her. We became friends instantly. Her daughter works for Sean Hannity radio, and Amy has been a force in my life as well. And she organized Angel moms and dads to come to DC, and she had donors. They paid for our flights in the hotel, and she took such amazing care of us. And we didn't even have to think.
That's
And
amazing.
she had a press conference for us, and then after that, we walked over to Pelosi's office, and we all piled in there, and the staff was really annoyed. You could tell they were extremely rude. And then I asked the secretary, I said, so if I bust through that door right now, what would you do? Because you don't know me. You don't know what my intentions are. But it's a door, and I can just walk through, right? She said, no, I would advise you not to do that. I said, right. Because if I do that, you would call Capitol Police. I didn't know at that time we had 15 Capitol Police outside that door, just watching us.
Wow. Yeah.
And so Nancy was hiding behind her wall. She didn't even have the decency to come out, and I would have respected that. If she would have came out and would have said, listen, I appreciate you coming here. I feel different about it, blah, blah, blah. God bless you. Have a good day. I can respect that. I don't mind you having a different opinion. We can't all have the same one. But for her to continue to fight our president on everything he wants to do for Americans, for our safety, so there is not another Dominic. And then she hides behind her walls in Napa Valley, in California, wherever she has a house, there are walls. And then she has security called on us. And I was a little disappointed. I kind of expected us to get arrested, and I already had a dramatic scene in my head.
Hey.
I would have just dropped and started crying and screaming. But you know what? The other thing is, Bruce, before you even get to Pelosi's office or any of these senators' offices, guess what you have to go through?
A security check.
A door
Yeah.
and security check. And when we went through, I had this poster with me. I have Dominic with me. And the guy tells me, ma'am, you have to turn the poster around. You can't walk around with it. Wow. Didn't I just see some DACAs with about 20, 30, 40 of them with the same shirts, the hats, the posters, get through here, and you know they're gonna act a fool and get loud. We're not, because we respect the law and we respect that office, no matter whether we agree or not. So yeah, we had to go through all that. Of course, I'm walking like this. I don't care, really. I'm gonna hold my son high. That's why I'm there in the first place. And we get scrutinized. We get ignored. We went to Schumer's office, and I was the first time we went. They just sat there at the front desk, and these young people doing their little internship. They don't know. They can't help it. They sit there, they listen to us, and then they go on about their business. But at least in Schumer's office on the second visit, one of the representatives who is in charge of immigration policies, she sat with us, about 10 angel moms, and she listened. And it was hard, and I appreciated her, and I told her, I said, I know you feel different, but I appreciate you at least giving us the respect to hear us. And along with the group that Amy put together, there were so many angel moms and dads that nobody ever heard of, and they started losing faith. And I'd like to, if you don't mind, mention their names because because of that event, they got a little newfound fire in them.
Please
And
do.
I want them to, yeah, and I want them to come on your show as well, Bruce, and share their stories because
Every one of them.
Well, I got to start like this. 5 of us formed AVIAC, Advocates for Victims of Illegal Alien Crime, aviac.us. And our president is Don Rosenberg. He lost a son. Maureen Maloney, she lost her son. Maureen Lacour, she lost her brother. And Brian McCann lost his brother, and myself. So we are the board members of AVIAC. But now we have state liaisons. And we have...
That was aviac.org, I'm sorry?
.us.
aviac.us, okay.
So we have Chris Oded, who will be our liaison for Texas.
Nice.
We have Judy Sieto. She is in Louisiana. Her son Blake was killed 12 years ago. Nobody knew about that. She never got to tell her story. Well, now she got newfound fire, and she is busting down doors in Louisiana, and she's going to the border next month. It's a newfound strength. It's that new fire lit in us. We have Bonnie Driscoll, whose daughter was killed. We have, let's see, Marie Herrera Vega. Her son was a Border Patrol agent in Texas. He just had a border station named after him. Shelley Woods, her brother, Steve, was brutally killed. Melanie Courtlang lost her daughter. Wendy Corcoran and Avery Presley Corcoran, they just lost Pierce in Tennessee.
Just happened a couple months ago.
Incredible, kind, sweet people that are now having to deal with this. And I remember reaching out to Avery right after it happened. We are now almost best of friends. She's my declared adopted daughter. Then we have Cindy Scalf, who lost her daughter, Shira. And Cindy's husband, Wishbone, is in construction. And he can't find work because the companies hire illegals and they know he speaks against them. So it's a catch-catch. It's horrible. We have Karen Anderson in Washington State, whose son was killed because the guy they hired on a construction site was an illegal. He couldn't read. So when he went to get a bolt for a 9,000-pound wall, he got a bolt for a 90-pound wall. Mark, her son, was underneath when that wall was placed, that floor, whatever you call it, and it collapsed on him, crushed him, and nobody was held accountable. We have Lori Vargas, whose son Jared had just been killed. Dan Ferguson from Texas lost his daughter. Dennis Bixby lost his daughter. We have Bill and Kathy Inman, who lost their son Dustin. They in Georgia, I believe 12 years ago. Shannon Estes, Arizona. Mark Chapman lost his son. These are just a few names of people that have not been able to go out there. So I feel extremely blessed. I feel so grateful to you guys, to our president, to give me that voice, to be there. But we need to pay it forward, and these people deserve to be heard. And I'll get them to you, and they get to share their part of it.
Absolutely, absolutely, and we'll get the website set up for them, and probably link it to AVIAC.
Yeah, keep them in your prayer, please. we need every one of them, because sometimes, like I shared that with you before, I was close to suicide. That was before I heard our president mention illegal immigration when he announced his candidacy. It's a harsh road that we don't want nobody else to have to go through. And, yeah.
Absolutely. I noticed because you were in Washington, right in, I mean, pretty much the illegal immigration battle and the battle for the wall, most of it centered around you and other angel parents. And that was what the president held firm to, that it's my responsibility to protect our citizens, and these are the angel families that have paid the ultimate price. He said, which surprised me, but he was like, he noticed that there was new angel parents there, and it was, you could tell it was like, it's an emergency. We're adding to this a family of people that never wanted to have to meet each other.
That was Susan Stevens and Carla Wolf. Susan lost her daughter to opioid addiction, and Carla Wolf lost her husband. He was an FBI agent who had a flat and was on the side of the road, and a firefighter helped him, and they both got mowed down by an illegal, and it wasn't too long ago. That was when we got there when he signed the Declaration of Emergency.
That's right.
And we had talked to him, and he signed that new bill, and there were things we didn't like about it. And we sat in the Oval Office with him and told him, we feel a little different about certain things, and he listened. But he's the president. I'm not. So,
right.
But the best part was afterwards, he said, would you guys like to stay to be my guest in the Rose Garden? Another wow moment. So
right.
We walked out there, and there's the media stacked again. And
that was a famous moment. Why don't you tell folks why it became a famous moment when mere feet from you, some idiot, you can finish the story.
Well, we're sitting there and we're listening to the president. Of course, he hands it over to the president, who gets up, our favorite non-reporter.
Right. Fake news.
And I'm listening to him, and first of all, he used
very
the word
fake news.
Alleged.
Mm-hmm.
So already everything in me, and you see my shirt where it says, hear me, I'm Dom's mom, hear me roar.
Yeah.
Well, inside that roar started like a little babble.
Oh, yeah.
And kept on, and then he kept saying about that, these undocumented immigrants commit less crimes. Well, that roar came out because that is something that absolutely chaps my butt.
Yeah, because it's a lie.
Undocumented immigrants. I'm an undocumented immigrant if I drive to the store without my license.
Right.
I forgot it at home. I'm undocumented. But those are illegal aliens, and that's the legal word for them, the legal description. It has nothing to do with race or anything. That's just what it is. And then he goes on about this, they commit less crimes. And that is something that makes my hair stand up, because in actuality, I don't give a rat's ass how many crimes they not commit. They shouldn't commit any crimes. None. Big fat zero. And one of our children, our loved ones, is one too many.
That's right.
So the president kept talking, and I'm sitting there, and I start to rock. And I knew, something's going to happen. And I wasn't going to blow up in front of the president. I'm his guest. I respect where I'm at. But as soon as the president stepped away from the podium, I got up and went straight over to him. He was about to pack up his stuff with his crew, and I called him out, and I asked him, why do you keep telling that lie and that fake, use that fake description of undocumented? So I went into that, and all of a sudden I noticed cameras all by my feet, looking up everywhere around. I hear click, 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 click. Well, he's a pro, and he noticed the cameras are rolling. So he went into this Oscar-worthy performance, putting his hand on his heart, looking a little sad. I call it that constipated face. And then he starts telling me how bad he feels for us, and his heart goes out to us. And and CNN feels horrible. And then I asked him, so when you gonna have us on? You haven't had anybody else on. You never talked to anybody one-on-one in a studio or in a interview.
That's right.
And he looks at me, and in the meantime, now what happened, and I see an angel mom behind me going to stand next to him. And I'm thinking, oh, why you gotta do that? Why you gotta give him that? Don't be his prop. Just step away. I stayed 3 feet away. And he told us, he said, well, how about if I go live and then you guys get to stand behind me and I point to you? And I'm looking at him like, you must be out of your flipping mind. I'm not going to do that.
Wow.
I'm not going to do your little fill in so you can tell.
Be my prop.
I talk to angel moms. No, you don't. But what happened is she distracted him. He talked to her and then she went, took a picture with him, which, anyway. But I stayed and I looked at him again. I said, so when you going to have us on? He didn't say anything. He went into his own self-serving thing about, well, you know, my issue is the president calls me fake news. And I said, well, I have to agree with him because you are. Thank you. And I left it. I dismissed him. It felt so good. I wanted to say much more. I wanted to get a little bit louder, but I figured, no, that was a good start. So I gave him my business card, and let's see, what time is it today? I still haven't heard from him. I called him out on Twitter. He will never have me on, but not even just me. Any angel mom or angel dad in a respectful setting. That's all. But quit twisting the truth, and then alleged victims, get out of here.
That's right. Or alleged national emergency. Alleged, made up, manufactured. I mean, they went into overdrive with their narratives, and they still hold them. And yet, I sit here on my show and talk to an angel mom who would beg to differ, could tell you about separation, permanent separation, can tell you.
Right now, I can bring at least 50 moms and dads into a studio and have each one of them share with him for 2 minutes. He wouldn't last a minute because he couldn't handle it.
No.
To look us in the eye and be in the same room with us. He was very uncomfortable, but it showed that he's still an actor. He still puts on that show, and they still not telling the truth. And I told him that. I said his viewers deserve to know the truth.
Exactly.
Tell them the truth. Let them make up their own mind. But a lot of people, when I'm on Twitter and I have some of the trolls come at me and they tell me things, I'm like, why are you questioning what I'm saying? I have proof. I didn't manufacture this picture. I didn't cremate my son so I can have his ashes in here so I can make a point. No, this is a real emergency. This is not manufactured. And matter of fact, I just saw today a young mom, a single mom, 28 years old, got killed in Oklahoma Thursday night, got shot by an illegal. And those are only a few stories that come out because most of them aren't told, aren't reported on, or now here comes the kicker. When you see a news story of a, let's say, Nashville man, that's the kicker. That's the giveaway right there. The Nashville man, the Memphis man, the Los Angeles man.
Right. It's identity politics until it's an illegal.
That's right. And so many people they don't know. I get messages over messages every day now on Twitter and through Dom Hugs. People write to me that have lost a loved one. One lady told me her son is disabled because of an illegal and they never got any help. Because the guy they throw up their hands. We have nothing. We don't talk English until way later. And they play all these games. They are playing us while they're cleaning us out. And right now with this border, with thousands of them every day getting caught, and that's just the ones we catch. There are thousands who are not being caught. And then they are released and bust into our cities. Well, where do you think they're going? Where do you think they're going to get money from? There will be a
Right.
higher crime rate. They go into the welfare offices because they have this underground system where they can get fake documents to get welfare. Because I hear from people, oh, you need to have an ID to get welfare. Well, what do you think they're selling at swap meets? For
Right.
$300, you can get a passport, driver license, and a social security card. And that's another thing I learned, Bruce. People need to check their children's social security numbers once in a while because people are being ripped off, and your kid goes for their little first job on a paper route,
Right.
and the check, and all of a sudden you find out that his social security number has been stolen by an illegal and used. So people need to wake up and stop being afraid of being called a racist, because that's only to distract you, to stop you from speaking, because now you got to explain why you're not a racist. Don't fall for it.
Exactly.
It has nothing to do. Nothing.
You have to throw that to the side. I'll say this because they're doing their best, and I talked about it with Chris, and I talked about it with Mark, and they're doing their best to hide what's going on. They'll even put instead of just Nashville man or Memphis man, they'll put white male down.
Yes.
And that is crazy. But I got to tell you, I did a show right after you went to DC. It was like while you were still there, and I did a show showing you in Schumer's office and in Pelosi's office, and after the fact I showed that Jim Acosta clip, and you having the courage to confront him without being irrational or anything else, keeping a level head about yourself was so much more effective, because what you did was, he is there, he is an actor. You kind of unmasked that, and it was, it allowed other people to see it. And I guarantee you there was people that were Democrats who were uncomfortable with the situation that's been going on, and just seeing his reaction to angel families and how he became an instant character, and that whole exposing Nancy hiding behind her walls, exposing Chucky. You have to know. Yeah. I know it's not easy, but it is moving the needle. And even if it's moving it a little bit, it is. More and more awareness is happening, more and more. I don't know if you've noticed, but on Periscope and YouTube, I am seeing like a 500% increase in angel parent interviews among other shows. And for me, that is the best thing that you could see. Other people are taking a conversation that's not easy in any way, shape, or form. If you have any kind of conscience at all, if you're a parent at all, just listening. I noticed that a lot of my shows with angel parents starts out with about half of the viewers I typically get, but people come back when they are steeled and ready for it, and they watch it, and my replays get a ton of views, and I'm okay with that. I understand this is not an easy conversation, and looking at the website and the interviews you've done, you've gone through this hundreds of times. And so, I have to put it out there. You're affecting change, you're moving the needle, and your courage inspires all of us.
Oh, thank you. Wow. For the grace of God, my faith got stronger, because I there was no way I could do this without that. The love for Dominic. I pour myself. I was Dom's mom. I am Dom's mom. My love for him is so strong that even death couldn't separate that. And then I'm so blessed with the man that's been in my life for October will be 10 years. When we met in California through eHarmony of all things, it works. Dominic absolutely saw that this man was the right one. I don't know if Dominic knew he wasn't going to be around long, he wasn't going to get old, but I knew God knew what was coming my way, and that I needed somebody that wasn't afraid to stick around when it got real ugly and real bad. And Anthony did. So I'm blessed to have that man by my side, because I couldn't do this, because I get a call Thursday evening to be in DC the next day. I don't have to ask. All he needs to know is what time do you need it be at the airport? What time do I get to pick you up? And that's it. When I went with Glenn to the border, he only knew Glenn through Skype, but he trusted him. So I'm surrounded by you, by Glenn, by Colleen, by people I never met. I call it my my Twitter army. People that come to my aid when somebody gets real nasty with me, and I just step back because I'm you're not gonna call me out, and I'm not gonna lose it anywhere. So you can say, "Oh, look at her, she's a nasty." No, you're not gonna get that from me. But I have this support that I gained through these years. That Anthony, my family back in Germany, you guys, and that gives me strength. And the main reason will always be my Dominic. This is the guy I'm speaking for. This is why I'm in this. That I get to speak for other parents is a part of it that I gladly take on. I carry their children in my heart. They know, people who know me know that I speak about their children. I speak for them. I wish all of them could always go with me, but it doesn't work that way. I wish it would, but we're getting there. Like I said, Amy Kramer with Women for Trump, she made it happen that about 25 of us got to go together. Not everybody got to go to the White House because it takes extensive background check and so forth. But it's again that old saying that the village, it takes a village. And it's the same here, because as a parent, this is your worst nightmare. I remember when Dominic would come home from work as a dispatcher, and he was so distraught when a kid got killed. And I would lay with him and let him talk and share, because I could tell how heavy it was on him. And I started crying, and he looked at me and he said, "Mom, you didn't even know the kid." I said, "That's my worst nightmare, to lose you." And then your brain stops right here. It won't go further because you cannot imagine. You don't want to. And your brain protects you. God protects you from that. And then I had to live through it. And I had a choice. I had 3 choices: to sleep and stay in a dark room, medicated, kill myself like I wanted to do, or do something about it. And now I'm proudly doing something about it. And matter of fact, I gotta share this with you. We have a town next to us. There are 4 illegals in jail. They raped their own daughter, their own sister. That little girl has been raped by their male family members for years.
Wow.
No big deal. Well, they were found out, and they are now in jail waiting trial. The sheriff was distraught. We talked. And the local paper that we have, the little paper we have, they refuse to talk about that. They refuse to tell that because they want everybody to think this is Mayberry. It's all good. Nothing happens. So I was so angry, and we're going to cancel our subscription. I'm just mad. And then I get a call a week ago, I think it was 2 weeks ago, from a reporter from the Democrat Gazette of Arkansas. And I was like, yeah, that's going to be a hit piece. You know what? That man, Frank, he did a telephone interview with me. And then I went to Little Rock just the other day on Friday to get pictures taken at the Democrat Gazette. And then I did an interview with KARK, Capitol View in Little Rock. Well, I didn't know what to expect from that newspaper article that Frank wrote up for the Democrat Gazette. I posted it on Facebook, and I think I sent it already to Glenn to put it up. The guy was a real reporter. He didn't change the story. He didn't slant it. He wrote a wonderful article telling exactly what happened and where I stand, not where he thought I should stand.
Nice.
And I called him and I thanked him for being fair, because I'm not used to that anymore. I was very apprehensive to even doing that with him. And so there are still some good reporters out there. We can't give up. But if I would have given up, I would have never given him a chance. And now some Democrat readers will read that piece and they might change their mind, because that's all we ask. And that's where I'm going back to Acosta and CNN and MSNBC. They are not telling their viewers and readers the truth. So people have a whole different opinion about it because they don't have facts. They think we're lying. And then once they get the truth, they like, oh, wow, I had no idea. Well, no, of course you didn't. Because I watch both. I watch Fox, I watch CNN, I watch them all.
Right.
Because I want to hear what they talk about. So we have a duty to really get informed ourselves, not just what somebody puts on a meme, puts on Facebook, whatever. That's not always true. Do a little bit of research. And talk to us directly. Now you have my website. Talk to me, ask me anything. I don't mind. To me, it's not about Democrat, Republican. It's about American safety. I'm a legal immigrant. So this flag behind me, the American one, is very important to me because it took me 6 years to become a citizen. And it was a hard road, expensive. And filling out paperwork. And I had to sign paperwork that I could never receive welfare or any help from the government. And It was okay because that was part of, okay, you work to become a citizen and then you're entitled to that. But other than that, you're not. The other flag is my German flag because that's where I was born. That's where Dominic was born. That's where the name German chocolate came from for him. His coffin, his body was draped by an American flag on the sidewalk. His coffin was draped, and I have the flag in a triangular frame. So we have the duty, and we have to take care of our country, our people, our children before we run and donate to this and donate to that. And sign on the dotted line when it comes to voting. You got to know who you vote for. And don't just do it per party. Know what that judge stands for. Know what that new city council stands for. If he talks about new Americans, that's illegals. And
that's
so, yeah.
You're right.
We have to stop being complacent with where we at, because if we don't watch out, we are being overrun by Muslims, even in our government, and by illegals. And I give everybody the right to their belief, whatever they believe. But now you coming into my country and changing it. I see what happens in Germany. I'm going there. I'm leaving Sunday to go to Germany. I know what happens over there. They can't even speak freely like I can with you. We couldn't do this.
Right.
And people getting hurt and nobody talks about
it. People don't understand that literally we can't do this in Germany. That's a scary thought. Nor can they do it in England anymore. No. And these are supposed to be democracies.
Yeah.
And they're not. It's educating ourselves on the catchwords, like like you said, new Americans and other. Educate yourself so when you hear those words, you can call it out immediately and say, listen, that's the one thing I loved about Trump from the beginning is he called a spade, period. Yeah. And that's how we have to be. We have to emulate him. It's the only way we can get this story out past what they want us to have, because they don't like stuff like this. They don't like 3-hour interviews where somebody can see and feel your heart. And speaking of which, I wanted to, before we go any further, there has been some responses from the audience during the show. BB Cool P, please tell Sabina we love her, even though we never met her. I feel like she's family. Amen for Anthony. That is so beautiful. He is your son forever. Your fight is our fight. That's the MAGA fam. That's what I really love about that, is you got people that know that they come into my show tonight and there's going to be some good things going. But at the end of the day, we're only having the conversation. I never would have met you if not for a tragedy. And, that would have sucked for me. But if I could trade that for Tom, I'd do it in a second.
Yeah.
I love you. You're my friend. But
Yeah.
it's at the end of the day, and you brought that to light immediately when we started the interview, that, yeah, I've had some amazing things that I wished I'd never had to experience that. It's,
I
you,
would really give all this up because it's not all it's cracked up to be. And somebody told me to my face, "Aren't you lucky?" I said, "What?" She said, "Yeah, aren't you lucky? You get to travel and you get to be on TV." And I looked at her. I said, "No, that came at a high price. I would
absolutely,
rather not. I'm giving
absolutely.
this up, and this is not. I'm not getting paid. I don't. People ask me that too. You can no. When I was invited by the White House to come to the White House, yes, they pay for my flight and my hotel. Other times, Amy Kramer, Women for Trump, she has donors. They support us. And there are a lot of times I pay my own way. I pay out of my pocket when I'm eating somewhere, whatever. I don't get paid by Fox News or anybody else. This is a labor of love.
Right. So, getting on the Amy Kramer thing, you said she had donors and she's Woman for Trump. Where would
Yeah.
folks find her to be able to, let's say they want to help sponsor an Angel Parents
Right.
trip to Washington, D.C.?
Womenfortrump.com, I believe.
And that's the
But
number
yeah,
4, just
yeah,
the
Women
number
for
not
Trump.
spelled out.
Yeah.
Okay, womanfortrump.com. That's awesome.
Let me. I don't have my phone on me. I put it away. Oh, I should have had that, so I could give you the exact Women for Trump. No, it's
Well, yeah,
Women FOR, not the number.
okay,
Women
FOR.
for Trump.
Excellent.
But you can find her also, Amy Kramer, Kremer. If we put it later on Downhucks, I will give her a shout out on there. Also, if people want to help us with aviac.us, we're a nonprofit, so your donation is tax exempt. Everything helps, because when I went to a conference in DC in November, and aviac was able to help me out with my ticket. I was going to go anyway, either way, just to be out there and talk to people and get exposure out there and get help. So aviac.us, if you want to donate, we really appreciate every penny helps. And we don't live large. We just want to make sure that you never have to tell this story about your or your family member or your friend.
Absolutely. I mean, you think about it, there's so many people, and that's, it's unfortunate that the whole movement has such a large amount of people that think that this is a get rich quick, or I can get rich sitting at home on my computer putting out content.
Oh,
And there's so many people with their hands out with the PayPals and the Patreons, and I won't, get into any kind of specifics, but if you guys are looking for something real, you always see us saying, hey, donate directly to DonaldJTrump.com. There's other folks out there that are actually doing great works, like Miss Kramer, Women for Trump,
yeah.
aviac.us. Look into stuff like that before you give money to, snake oil salesmen or people that
Right.
aren't doing. Look, you see what these angel families are doing. You can directly see Miss Kramer's work when you see the angel mom storming Schumer's office and saying, hey, we will be heard, or sitting in the rose garden. These things is what you have to do, because it's little old us versus a very monolithic beast that controls the narrative, and we're the ones that push back on that and say this is reality, and we have to keep doing that every
Absolutely.
time.
And then there's also a organization I stand with. It's fundthewall.com.
Fund the wall.
Yeah, fundthewall.com. They are a nonprofit, and they are they accepting donations, and that money will be actually given in a check to DHS. And they did the research. They know how to do it. They don't promise anything that they can't do. I met the founder of fundthewall.com, and brilliant man, Quentin Kramer, no relation to Amy Kramer. So there are people out there that might not be flashy all over the place, but they working it. They're working hard for us. And then there's another friend of mine that I met, Dave Gibson. He has been doing this forever. He has a website called www.illegalaliencrimereport.com. He writes out these horrific stories. He just wrote about that young lady in Oklahoma that was killed a couple of days ago, left behind a little girl, single mom. He has stories and he brought out a book that is so hard to read, but it's true stories. It's not manufactured, and he's been doing this for a long time. So if people say, well, it's just a few, go to his website or direct people to his website and see how many there are that he describes what happened to these families. And then we have a memorial site, also a friend of mine, Steve Salvi. It's ojjpac.org. And he memorializes our loved ones. When July 12th comes around, he puts Dominic out front and shares that it's 7 years now since he's been killed. If you have become a victim of an illegal and you need help, President Trump created an office within ICE. It's called VOICE, Victims of Immigration Crime Engagement, VOICE. And you can call them and get an operator on, an agent that will be able to direct you which way to go, what to do, and so forth. And it's 1-866-48-VOICE. Or you go to ice.gov/voice.
Okay, give that one more time.
It's 1-866-48-VOICE. And then we have www.ice.gov/voice, VOICE. The website is there. They work with you. I wanted to know if it was really working because I was invited to the opening of that office 2 years ago. And then to the 1-year anniversary when we then got to meet President Trump and held a press conference at the Eisenhower building, which was another incredible moment. But I called and I wanted to know what's happening, if it's really true, because before I endorse anything or put my name on it, I want to know it's real.
Absolutely.
And I had an agent walk me through it and help me, and I could have gotten some counseling sessions. But sadly, the only counselor was about 2 hours away. And to me, doing this here is best counseling for me that I could ever get. And talking to other families and calling them and texting with them. But there's help out there, whether you lost somebody, whether you became a victim of identity theft, or you've been robbed, anything, call them up and see if they can help. I can't promise it, but at least there's a spot for us as well. We have a lot of people working with us, for us, and then we have a lot working against us. And sadly, those are the ones that get paid for our taxes. They sit in Washington, D.C., and they won't find time for you when you call and want an appointment. They hide from you, and they promise and pretty much say it right in your face. And sometimes we have it right here, but we move it aside and we let the red bouncy ball distract us. There are those out there that tell us exactly where we stand, that we are last on the list. Because when you speak for undocumented immigrants, as they like to call them, and bring up sob stories about them and why they should be here and they need a bed, they just come in here because their country is bad. No, there's still a way to go through the channels. They got 17 consulates and places to go to in Mexico, if they from Guatemala, that they can go to and ask for amnesty. They don't have to come step on our ground, on our dirt, on American soil, and then throw up their hands and say, oh, we need amnesty. That's just the game they play. It's absolutely orchestrated There are groups, big money groups behind them. They are bused to the border and they just walk across and they in. And we have to accept them. And they get this little note to appear in court. And by then, 3 years later, they disappeared. We have them living around here. This is why this hat, I tell you, I love wearing it going to Walmart and stuff because the lines get shorter.
That's
Every
funny.
time I notice it, people scatter, you know. And I've been approached. I remember coming out of Sam's Club here in Texarkana, and this lady had this mean look on her face. I didn't know if she was angry at her husband or what. And she walked towards me and she didn't move. And then she stood in front of me and she said, I don't appreciate you wearing that hat. And I said, well, I don't appreciate your face and nothing we can do about that either.
Oh, wow. Wow.
So it's not just the MAGA hats. And it's sad that it came to that where you cannot wear a red MAGA hat or a t-shirt that says 45 Trump or anything like that on it without having to be afraid of getting beat down, spit on, or get your tires slashed.
Yeah, I think that's why a lot of us are concealed carry permit holders.
Yes. I'm working on mine. And we do have a sign. We have a 300-yard driveway, and there's a sign right there about in the middle that says, if we find you here and there's a gun showing, you will be found here by the sheriff in the morning.
Oh, very nice. Very nice.
Thank God we have good neighbors and we are protected. So, you know.
Yeah, that's excellent. And I've seen that responses to your being in the Arkansas Gazette. I seen responses from people in the local area that were glad that you came. It was pretty cool to look at the comments, and like you said, a lot of those readers are liberals and Democrats, so it is opening up. You know, that people wouldn't think that is an important victory, but that is a major victory.
But you know what, Bruce, and that's why I like to remind some of my fellow angel parents, when we keep it classy and stick with the facts, they can't attack us. They want us to lose it. They want us to go nasty and loud and foul and vulgar. Not going to happen because facts speak for themselves. And so they can't rattle us. We already been rattled. We already been taken down to nothing, and we came back up. And somebody always said like a phoenix out of the ashes.
That's right.
Pretty much.
That's absolutely. I wanted to ask you because I know we've hopped around as far as timeline tonight, and that's fine. This is the kind of discussions that I like when we just go off the cuff. But you know, it was, I think, in August when you went down. You mentioned it earlier when you went down to the border with Glenn. And for folks that don't know, I mean, that was the first time that you've been to the border. You went to the Rio Grande Valley sector. That's right, which is one of the absolute busiest. And I believe a couple weeks after you guys were there, a couple hundred people were caught.
Next day.
Oh, the next day. Yeah, see, that's crazy.
Yes.
You went down with Big Fish, with TJ, Debbie Aldrich was there, Glenn was there. I hope I'm not missing anyone, but briefly tell folks exactly what that was like for you, because I noticed I watched that video that Glenn put together, and you could tell the whole trip was an emotional journey for you. So,
oh Lord, it was amazing to meet those Patriots and be with them. And then once we got in two different cars and I stayed close to Glenn and Chase and Celeste, as soon as we started driving towards the border, it just, and I still get emotional thinking about it, because that's where the killer of my son might have came through undetected, and the killer of all my friends' kids and husbands and wives. And then we get to the area and it looks so pretty and green. And then you see those slats, those bollards, whatever they call them. And I said, what is this Mexico? He said, no, this is still America. And then all this area is protected by the environmentalists because Oh, that's the best hiding spot because it's all covered in green and bushes. Oh, we got to protect that bird and that turtle or whatever.
Right.
And then we walked, and I'm walking towards the Rio Grande. And I think Debbie started filming, and my face aged 100 years. And I took pictures with Dominic's bracelet because I'm looking at that river, and I look across and I see the trampled down sides of the river where they come across. They can basically just walk across in some spots, swim across. And the Border Patrol is overwhelmed. They could tell it was really hard. They were trying to calm me down. And I just needed a moment just to stand there and think about this. And just because somebody wants to be somewhere else doesn't mean they have the right. You know, they can't just come in my house because their house is a mess. No, I need to know who you are. So being there was so emotional. It drained me unbelievably. I was sapped. And then we drive along, and we stopped in an area where the next day they had 100 people lined up. And Glenn and I walked, and we saw shoestrings and hoodie strings and diapers and trash. And then you see the bridge that connects Mexico to McAllen, Texas. And you see farmland. And then you're told by the Border Patrol agent that with their own money, they built apparatus so the cars, those smugglers, can't just drive through after they picked up their illegals that they make a lot of money with to go away. So they built their own fence, like or it was some kind of gate out of metal bars that they built themselves, because they are in danger constantly. Because then we get to a part that looked like a park with swings and slides for kids, and I was so in shock. And then there's the Rio Grande, and across from it you have another park with a playground. That's their little cover. Oh, let's take the children to the park, let's play. Then there was a truck park, and one of the agents told us, just get back in the car. They have their lookouts, and when Border Patrol is here, they come here. Border Patrol is here, they come through there. It's a cat and mouse game, and Border Patrol is overwhelmed. We had a briefing before we left on the tour, and the stats, the statistics, and how they built out of their own money. They built a new shelter for those children. Those racist Border Patrolmen spending their own money for toys and diapers and baby food and chocolates and candy for those kids. Yeah, they really horrible people. So when you hear that and you're right there, it's one thing. And then we're driving through McAllen, and it's a thriving city. I mean, you have a Audi dealership in the mall. You have Harley Davidson. You have all these top of the line businesses. And then I said, dang, people living good here. He said, well, those aren't the locals. The locals are pushed out because they can't afford living there. That is money laundering from the cartels.
You're right.
And I mean, the whole 2 days, my mouth had dropped open. I couldn't believe what I saw. And then to see schools butting up to the border where illegals run through, and they have to close the schools because, illegals running through, shooting at each other. And it's just mayhem that people don't understand that this doesn't just go on there. That's where it starts. And
right. Over the weekend, I don't know if you saw, but they actually had the cartel had grenade launchers firing grenades at our Border Patrol agents. Grenades.
Yes.
That's an invasion. That's an emergency.
And they have no fear. So if they get apprehended by a Border Patrol agent, they don't worry about hurting him or killing him, so they can continue on to our little paradise where they get everything for free, where they can give birth and have an automatic citizen, in their hands, and they can draw Medicare and get free medical attention in every emergency room and send their kids to classes. And That's what I shared with you. A friend of ours has a child in a class in Denver, which is a sanctuary city. And she was telling us that her child is the only American speaking child in that class. The
Holy
rest of them
cow.
are the children of illegals who don't speak a lick of English. Can you imagine, first of all, the chaos? And can you imagine that education her child gets, an American citizen? None, zero. So it goes into other areas. It's not just about killing citizens.
That's right.
They get tax returns. Oh, yeah. They have people on the inside. We have another angel mom who lost her son, Ruben, almost 30 years ago. She's fighting. She's working in a place where the head of HR is an illegal. The supervisor is an illegal. And they know she's fighting illegal. So guess what? She gets the crappiest hours. She's hurting. Her knees are hurting. She needs surgery. They won't give up. It's so deep in our fabric. It's already so deep in there that if we fall asleep now that we are ahead, we finally have a president who talks about it, who does something, who want to do something about it. If we don't get with it, the schools will be full. The money that's supposed to go to our veteran, our elderly, will go to illegals, and the pot of $1 million now is stretched out where Americans are in the back of the line. They're in the back of the bus. They're not even in the bus. They're at the bus stop waving at the illegals in the bus. So,
yeah.
And I'm talking about illegals from Germany. I'm talking about illegals from anywhere, any color, and I don't care what age you are. And that brings me to a point that I was asked about in an interview here at the local station about the DACAs. She said, well, I know you feel strongly about DACAs need to go. I said, you're right. They and their families need to go. Because if you keep, well, first of all, it's unconstitutional.
Right.
They are not citizens. They are nothing. They're illegals, no matter what you call them. They're not children anymore. They're grown-ups. And they used our system long enough. Now they can take that and take it back to their home country and make their country better. Then I hear, well, they don't speak the language. No, most of the time they still translate for their illegal parents. So they do speak the language. It's,
right.
You know, and our soldiers are sent overseas and they have to adapt. So we asked that of our own, well, send them back. And then she said, well, but this is the only country they know. Well, that's too tough because their parents put them in that place. So get back in line, leave, come back and get in line and then see where we can do it. Well, you might get a quicker pass because you lived here. You were a good citizen or citizen. You didn't commit any further crimes. And I brought up the example that if I take my son and break into Disney World,
right,
which is snuck in through the side, we're walking around, we're having fun. We've been there a whole week having fun. And all of a sudden we get busted. Well, my son can't stay. They will kick him out. I can't stay because I brought him in there. So all of us have to leave. And then we can never come back because that's the punishment for breaking in the first place. But yet they try to tell us we should give them a pathway to citizenship. No, we shouldn't. No, because what happens? Okay, let's say we give them citizenship, the DACAs. Are we then going to separate them from their parents and deport the parents? Or we're going to bring in the rest of the family?
right.
So it's an ongoing game that the Democrats.
Oh yeah, and the chain migration is crazy. When they're talking like a dozen people can be connected to every one, and that's like just the average.
Yes,
it's insanity. Absolutely. That's, you know, I don't understand. People don't understand math. Our country has like 360 million people. The world has 8 billion. Like 6 billion live for less than $10 a day. They live and subsist on less than $10 a day. We can't take everyone, or we become them.
No,
it's just simple.
And when you talk to, I've talked to some that have property in or know somebody that's here illegally working and sending their money home, tax free. Go to Western Union and Walmart. They send their money back that they made under the table.
Lots of it.
Tax free, and lots of it because they collect monies and welfare for children that aren't even in the household. So they clear pretty good every month. And they send that money back. And this guy was telling us that his cousin has a huge mansion paid off with large property, 6 trucks, American big trucks with the whole bells and whistles, all paid for.
That's
Big old
crazy.
swimming pool, and his kids go to private school. Oh, that's the life no, you're coming here to drain our resources to send them to your country, and then you live there really nice and cushy because we idiots are giving it away.
Right, and we're racist if we say
if we
anything about our own country. It's just, it's not even a discussion you could have when
no,
people
it's
just
not
throw
even
that
a
at you.
word. That word doesn't have any meaning because they just call you that to shut you up, so you explain for 10 minutes, 20 minutes that you're not a racist because your best friend is black. No, I'm not even going that route. Call me whatever you want, bring it, and we're going to continue the discussion about what's really.
Right. Bring it. That's
Yeah,
it.
no matter. But I'm telling you, Bruce, I'm just I'm so grateful to you, to your friendship, for your support. Because during the time, even while I wasn't on, we were in contact. And
Well, yeah. I mean, you don't meet Sabina Durden and am not directly affected. Your life changed forever. And through it all, it just, it makes me wish that I met you with Dom sitting next to you, and and we were doing a walkaway story or something. How you
yes,
left the Democratic Party because your eyes were opened.
yeah,
But these are the conditions that we find, and it's like I truly believe things happen for a reason. I never in a million years thought when I did my first scope to rant and rave against people who were saying things against my president that it would morph into what it did. I never thought after I did the first interview with you that I would meet someone who had never been able to tell their story, and in 6 months they're at the State of the Union. And that's not me. That's not me. That's just the way things, because I know my little viewership doesn't push the line, but websites and little things, people meeting people, you can just be part of a little bit of a cog that changes, something big. And that's the only reason I do it, honestly. And I'm so glad I did, because your friendship is very valuable. Just simply because, like I said, you inspire a lot of people, and you're real about it. You don't walk around in a fairyland that
oh, that's just off camera.
Yeah, exactly.
With my crown and my little scepter, and I just have my staff, my butlers and everybody cater to me. That's off camera.
Yeah, right.
No,
That's funny.
No. This is as real as it gets, and we just gotta realize, and I'm gonna, I think, close it with that. Dominic taught me a lot while he was alive. He was my best friend. We were like this from the minute I knew I was pregnant till the moment I had to have him cremated. He taught me that you live life without regrets. He did. Him and I did. I have no regrets. And that's the beauty. I don't feel guilty. I don't have, oh man, I wish I would have. I wish I would have spent more. I wish I would have said that. The last time we saw each other, when he got back in his truck after he dropped us off at the airport on July 11th, 2012, was, I love you, Mom. See you later. Love you too. Be good and be careful out there. So there are no regrets. There's not, I wish I would have. There's nothing I would have changed except that day. But we lived every day knowing that we were each other's best friend. We could count on each other. He's still with me. I feel him a lot of times, especially when I'm at the White House or give big speeches. I feel him behind me, holding me up. We got to slow time down sometimes. I notice families sitting at a restaurant at a table and everybody's on their phone. Nobody's talking. And I'm thinking, good Lord, I would give everything I have to have 2 minutes with my child, just to hear his voice. I have to watch a
Right.
video. We need to slow down a little bit and appreciate what we have. We have to be a little kinder. If you have people in your family, and I had them, I had to let go of them. I had to get rid of people who were not doing me good, who were
Right.
not good for me. That doesn't, if your family doesn't mean you have to be around, but make sure the people that are around you have your back. Sort out your friend circle, make it smaller, and know that they're there. Because I learned through this that the people I thought would be around, they disappeared. They were gone. Dominic's friends are still around. They come visit every year from California. His best friend comes every year with the family. So if we realize, and it's a thought we don't want to think about,
Right.
but really live every day like it's your last, and truly smell the flowers. Take a moment. And I'm guilty of that, where Anthony had to tell me, say, baby, I know you're working, but once in a while, put away that phone. Just sit here with me, listen to the crickets. It's so calm here, so refreshing and peaceful. We all have to just take it down a notch and enjoy each other, live without regrets. And if you're passionate about something, go for it. Don't let nobody stop you. If I would have listened to some people, we wouldn't even talk. I would still lay in bed, probably with a tranquilizer up my butt, just out.
Right.
But so go for your passion. Be passionate about what you do. Keep it clean. Don't let people get the best of you, go off so they can say, look at that idiot. So I learned from Dominic to really be a little bit more in the moment and enjoy the small things. It's not, and that's another thing. Nobody talks about what truck he drove, what money he had, what designer clothes he had, what
That's right.
brand shoes he wore. Nobody talks about it. Even about his size, he was a big guy. And he was very conscious about it. Nobody talks about the size of clothes Dominic wore. You know what they talk about? How he made them feel, how much they love him, how much they miss him. Still, 7 years later,
7
they
years.
celebrate
That's
his
you
birthday.
know, if you can try and put some kind of value on a life, I mean, that's there. I don't know if 7 years from now, if I pass today, if anyone would mention my name. It's that, there's such a valuable lesson there, and it's like you say, that's everything you're basically saying is the life he lived, and you see the effect that it had on people around him. That
And
he
that's
took the
the
time
thing
to try everything, conquer
it
every
won't-
fear.
On his headstone, on my headstone, it won't read what size I am, how much money I have.
Right.
People will remember me for how I made them feel, and that's with Dominic. They still celebrate his birthday. I got a FaceTime call on his birthday where his friends were having a birthday party with him.
That's awesome.
Almost 7 years later, and that's the legacy we want to leave. Not how much we bought, what size of house we have. And he was very modest about his things, but people are missing him. They sharing him. They talking about him. Just yesterday, another young lady in Riverside at the 911 dispatch for the Riverside Sheriff's Department received the Top Achievement Dominic Durden Award, the best out of her class. And every time new classes, they have the best one, they get that award in Dominic's name.
That's
so
amazing.
He lives on forever. And
he
if
does.
we could just achieve a little bit of that, wow. You know.
Exactly. Thank you so much, Sabina. It's, always a pleasure to have you on. I so enjoy it, and I know my audience absolutely enjoys it, and we've kind of lived vicariously through you since the interview, rooting for you, getting pissed off and upset with you, crying with you, because we've seen.
I feel that energy.
We've seen.
I swear to God, I do.
It manifests in everything you do. You're like hear me roar. you're a spitfire, and it's amazing. And you know, and like, you know, Dominic will never be forgotten for stuff like that, but he'll never be forgotten because you'll continue to tell the story, and folks like me will continue to try and put it out there. I take Dom with me, not only on my wrist, but I take him fishing with me. He's my fishing buddy. And it's funny because I actually have conversations with him like, all right, you need to tell the fish, you know, come on. But that's the last picture that I will put up as you exit, is a picture of me and Dom at in Oregon.
The world.
It is next to the picture of him and his bracelet and the president's pin. It's phenomenal. I'm gonna play the tribute that in July 18th of last year that I made for you. If you want to hang out for a minute, okay, I'll mute you, and then I'll end the show. And everybody share this out. Everybody shoot Sabina a message every once in a while and tell her what she means to you, because I know
Get some bracelets.
That's it. Get some bracelets and take Dom everywhere. He will be the most well-traveled guy if I have anything to do with it.
He's all over
That's
it.
it.
It warms my heart when I see pictures with his bracelet in there, and I take him myself, take pictures with his bracelet anywhere by the White House or wherever I go. I want to tell your listeners, thank you for the kind words. Thank you for the time you spent with us, and it really means the world. And thanks for not staying quiet and keep fighting. We're going to win this. We will.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Aviac.us, guys. AVIAC.us. Check out Illegal Alien Crime Report. That's a huge site, and it gives you the real numbers. And right now, the numbers have gone through the roof. They're talking about on pace for maybe 100,000 in March. And that's just the ones that are apprehended, guys. So everybody out there, this is a fight that we have to have through 2020 and beyond until they secure our borders and we get our wall built. And thank God for patriots like you, Sabina. Thank God.
You.
All right, it's great seeing you again. I can't wait to have you on for round 3, and hopefully we'll be celebrating something, a major shift at that point. And if not, I'll just have you on because I like BSing with you and having a good time. No doubt. Good deal. All right, guys, everybody say bye to Sabina. We'll see her next time.
Bye,
and
guys. Love ya.
I will play everybody out with the song. Thanks, doll. I'll be right back with you.